Look at what the papers are reporting. The Nation newspaper, alleged religious violation. Kwankwaso faces U.S. sanctions. Ex-governor, Mark ban. Others on offenders list in U.S. lawmakers' bill. This Nigeria, 2027, Makinde lobbying to be Atiku's running mate, says Fayose. Alleges Oyo governor pledged 10 billion naira to be on the ticket at Mina meeting with Atiku IBB. The Blueprint newspaper, terrorism, U.S. malls visa ban, asset freeze against Kwankwaso, others. Next is the Observer Times. CSO Lords, Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Shaibu's new war doctrine amid soldier welfare boost, cites new hope for national security. The Hope newspaper is next. Two Chinese directors jailed 46 years over 3.4 billion naira, $2.5 million crypto fraud. Court also directs convicts to undertake community service, orders forfeiture of extensive assets, repatriation to their country. And the Platform Times, Nigeria Revenue Service boasts historic 28.3 trillion naira in 2025. And Nigeria News Direct, Dangote refinery returns full throttle. Target 75 million liters daily supply. And last but not least is Eric Shell admits why I'll talk about the Sporting Live. Eric Shell admits why I can't drop Simon. Okay, let's get down to brass tacks. We're doing this with my colleague Salamide, Ria, and our in-house analyst, Biodun Shomi, helping us to make sense, of these papers. Let me start off with you, Olamide. We see the U.S. Alleged religious violation. Kwankwaso faces U.S. sanctions. Ex-governor Mark ban others on offenders list in U.S. lawmakers. The NNPP is saying that it has no link with religious fundamentalists. I was also shocked when I saw that. The same thing with the Blueprint newspaper talking about terrorism, U.S. malls visa ban, asset freeze against Kwankwaso, others. NNPP saying our leader has no link with religious fundamentalism, and 200 additional U.S. troops to arrive in Nigeria, 16 ISWAP terrorists killed. I do not know how you receive this message. We've been having farmer header clashes here and there. People accusing, the headsmen, quote unquote, I just decided not to mention the name because of the ethics of journalism, the headsmen, for committing crimes, kidnapping, killing others. In fact, in some other states, Southwest, Southeast, they've also arrested people who pretended to be from that particular ethnic extraction, and then when you begin to hear Olanrewaju Chineye involved in terrorism. Yeah. But the U.S. taking this to their Congress, how does it sound to you?
It's very worrisome that a political leader like Kwankwaso, that many look up to and many follow and has such a huge influence, should be mentioned in the same breath as Mieti Allah cattle herders and Fulani militia who have been known to incite bloodshed. Now, the NNPP has come out to say this is politically contrived. We have nothing to do with it. It's politically motivated. But the question I have to ask, and I know, Ibrahim, you have an answer. What could be the political motivation of the United States just to target one person? I leave you with that question. It's rhetoric. Don't answer it. Now, a lot of people are saying that the United States has no right to do this, to just name and shame leaders without any act or without any physical evidence. But they actually are under the Global Magnitsky Rights Act. They are allowed to do this. They have this overreach that they can propose stipulations. It's important to note that Kwankwaso has not been held for anything as of yet. It would have to pass to both U.S. chambers to be passed into law and approved by the president to get any sanctions actually put on him. So as at yet, it's still allegations, but it's very, very worrisome. What does this data tell us? Kwankwaso and bloodshed should not be in the same sentence.
Absolutely, because I remember a story, being told to me by, I was on a podcast, and then, the PA to our CEO actually, mentioned that during our days in the North, there was this religious crisis, attacks on, other religious people, Christian and non-Muslims, and it was Kwankwaso that actually saved them. From this killing and all of that. So now seeing this, as you said, in the same headline, and U.S. pushing this, the same country that has funded terrorism, Bill Clinton, what was her name? I've forgotten her name. The former U.S. Secretary, the woman who ran for president, I've forgotten her name. I'll remember.
Hillary Clinton.
Hillary Clinton, yes, Hillary Clinton, wife to Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton.
Yeah. So she said, the U.S. funded ISIS. The U.S. created ISIS. In fact, claiming that it was Obama or something that created ISIS, funded terrorism, and we know all of this. So it's more like the arsonist coming to position itself as the firefighter.
Well, it's all allegations, they've not hit the nail on the wall that, he has really done it or he is one of the people doing it. So it's all allegations. For me, I want to get to the end of this. It's just sad to see that a name of a person like this that people believed, was fighting for, religious grounds, they're now saying is a person violating it. So that's where I worry. But at this point, I'm just hoping that they get to the end of it and we finally see if it's true, he faces the law. If it's not true, then they need to apologize to him. Absolutely.
So, Mr. Showme, help us make sense out of these. Some of the triggers is the fact that lawmakers cited cases of mob action and the weaponization of judicial systems to suppress religious minorities, specifically mentioning the need for accountability in states where religious cleansing is alleged to have occurred. And one of the dangers is that when he was presenting the bill in Congress, he was saying that the U.S. is a Christian nation and we owe the duty to protect the Christians all across the world. And people are asking that, what about the fundamental human rights and the freedom of association, whether you're a Jew, whether you're Christian, whether you're Muslim, or even an animist or an atheist, everyone should be protected.
Yeah, absolutely. At times you can't even make any real interpretation of U.S. policies.
That's
because when you look at the relationship between the U.S. and UAE and Saudi Arabia, Qatar and Saudi Arabia, who are strictly Sharia states, and then you now come back to the issue of Kwankwaso, because one of my own understanding is one of the issues being raised against Kwankwaso is the idea that he introduced Sharia, into Kano, and when he was the governor, and that they're beginning to look at the background and what led to what led to explosion in violence in Nigeria, in religious violence in Nigeria. So within that context, Kwankwaso is being zoomed in. Yeah. So when you look at that, then you ask yourself, then how do you explain the relationship between the U.S. and Sharia countries like Saudi Arabia and Qatar? And in addition to that, you then ask yourself, look, what's the backing for the current Syria leadership? How do you explain that? Who, in any case, was until recently certified to be an ISIS leader. So there are that duplicity in U.S. actions. But the major thing in relation to Kwankwaso is, I think the U.S. have a right, the U.S. legislators, or even U.S. as a country, has a right to restrict the number of visitors into their country. Just like us, we can say, no, we don't want you to visit our country. I don't think this should be a major issue leading to NNPP suspecting maybe this was a political game. No, it's within their immigration rules, to allow you to enter or not to enter any country. Of course, they're not talking about picking him up or trying him. If that is the case, then we'll be talking about fair hearing. So I feel that it's within their right, just like it's within our right to refuse admission into our country. It shouldn't be a major issue which is being blown up. Yeah,
we should move on. This Nigeria is next. Olamide, looking at 2027, Makinde lobbying to be Atiku's running mate, says Fayose alleges Oyo governor pledged 10 billion naira to be on the ticket at a meeting with Atiku and IBB. We saw Atiku and Makinde, visiting the old general, Ibrahim Babangida, at his, house. And Fayose told us that when Atiku has seen that he has about 70% chance of clinching the ADC ticket, and the fact that Obi supporters would not want Obi to be, to be vice president to Atiku or anyone, is either president or nothing, then Seyi Makinde is telling Atiku, listen, I'm here, I can split the votes in the Southwest. I even pledged, according to Fayose, I even pledged 10 billion naira, which will be paid in tranches, to mobilize people. And the fact that my in-law is from South, River State, then certainly I can also, call some votes there. People are saying, how did Fayose know all of this? Did he plant camera or microphone on Makinde?
That is coalition chess for you. If Fayose is saying this is not a confirmed political movement. This is a political claim by a political actor who is playing coalition chess ahead of 2027. Until anybody moves parties or announces a ticket, nothing is confirmed. But Fayose, he has he has the T, as Gen Z would say.
Yeah, but then, you know, this same Fayose actually told us about the 15 billion naira which was, you know, given to, you know, Oyo State when Makinde visited President Tinubu. And then it turned out to be, you know, actual fact where you had a response that, no, we didn't pay, I mean, I didn't spend all the entire money. It was 30 billion naira, not 50 billion naira, all in all. But how do you see this political chairs according to Olamide?
For me, I think Fayose, maybe he should change and be a journalist, because it seems like he always has a lot of information.
Investigative journalist. All right, Mr. Showomi, how do you weigh in on this matter? Or seriously, I think we should look at the Observer Times. You know, with the CSOs lauding Chief of Air Staff, or Chief of Army Staff rather, Lieutenant General Shaibu's new war doctrine amid soldier welfare boost, cites new hope for national security. Then Soldiers First policy praised, wounded troops receive permanent housing, 6,830 recruits join, senior officers promoted in military shake-up, and call for administrative gains to translate into battlefield success and public safety. We've been talking about our soldiers dying in war front and even their families left untaken care of. And one of the reasons some of them do not even want to put all their chest, all their heart, all their body into it is because they know when anything happens to them, that may just be the end for them.
Honestly, it's not easy to be a soldier or to be a security officer, generally speaking. I mean, if you start from the police, you can imagine you are waiting at a roadblock. You don't know whether whoever is coming is going to shoot you dead or anything, and you have a family. Now, if you now take it further to the soldier, a man willingly signing up to say, look, I want to die for my country. That is what they have signed up to. Of course. No matter what the situation is, the minimum we can do is to take care of their family and make sure that they're well compensated. They have decent housing, provide for their education. But we've not been doing this enough. We've been doing some things, but not enough in a way that would justify, you know, the commitment, you know, of those soldiers. It's like going on a suicide mission when the moment you join the military, because you can be deployed to the war front at any point in time. They don't need your consent. You don't have a right to say, I want to resign or anything. So I think this is good news and it's heart sharing if the Nigerian military is now beginning, the current leadership are now looking at all those concerns. I think we should welcome that situation. It's long overdue. Absolutely.
Olamide, the same thing, you know, over the years, I have a friend with whom I went to secondary school together. He has been in the front line to Sambisa Forest. I think about 5 years ago, he told me that, you know, he had an accident and part of the body was already decaying. And they told him, if you don't take care of yourself, they are not going to take care of you. He had to take care of himself. I said, why don't you, you know, resign? He said he has gotten to a certain level where if he resigns, some benefits will not, you know, accrue to him, so he just has to stay. And because I'm also a Nigerian, I swore to protect the integrity of this nation. But this is good news.
The outcome of our fight against terrorism will change when we change the way that we treat those who are fighting for us at the front line. This military personnel first policy is something that I'm generally a proponent for. Modern wars are won by morale. They're not won by just intelligence or weaponry. How you treat your soldiers matters. How they feel when they put their boots on the ground, how they feel that they're looked after, tells us a lot and can give us a lot of insight into how they will fight at the front lines. We have to treat our troops better. It's very, very pertinent. And military strategy involves looking at the morale and the well-being of your soldiers.
Ria, I know that this story will actually excite you because you're one of
my colleagues have said it all, honestly speaking. I just think that they need to be treated rightly at the end of the day, honestly, because they do a whole lot.
Absolutely. All right, then let's move on to the Platform Times. Nigeria Revenue Service, Olamide, I'll start with you. Nigeria Revenue Service posts historic 28.3 trillion naira in 2025. Oil, non-oil collections exceed targets amid reform push. 2026 revenue target set for the 4.96%, higher at 40.7 trillion naira. This is huge because if you look at, you know, year in, year out, before we have the Nigeria Revenue Service, it used to be Federal Inland Revenue Service, and then what the kind of gains they make, the kind of what's it called, historic gains they made was not as high as this. Now what we have now, they are projecting even over 40 trillion naira come 2026. We are already in 2026, just in a few months to come. That's good news, you think, as well?
Absolutely, it's good news. Headlines like this are always welcome, and what they signal to us is that there's a structural shift. Nigeria is getting into an era where we're depending less on oil money and more on tax money, and that is definitely going to change state citizenship relations in the context of revenue gathering. We're moving from oil money to tax money, and like I said, it's going to change our relationship with the state. But I will say this: there's a structural shift that is going on right now. But the average man, I've said it time and time again, their metric for life, whether the government is doing good, is not revenue figures in the papers. It's their pockets and their stomach infrastructure.
Yes, but people are saying that when we pay tax, where you generate revenue, but having good revenue is good for the economy, because when you have enough money made, you also have enough to plow back into the system.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, when people pay their tax, they expect to see the dividends of the tax. So if we're moving from oil money and we're going to tax money, we should just make sure that people get to see it. The woman on the road can actually feel it.
Yeah. So Mr. Showomi, help us understand this, very, very clearly. First quarter breakdown, it was 96.9% of target. Second quarter, 129.7% of target. Third quarter, 131.9% of target, and the last one, fourth quarter, was 90.4% of target, which, of course, the dip is attributed to seasonal compliance trends. But the fact that we are now gaining this revenue, from NRS, it's something that is showing that the economy is really, really bouncing back. Do you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can't take it away from the reforms made by the federal government, particularly the efforts of the CBN on monetary policies, the tools. They're all designed to help the economy to grow. Again, also the fiscal policies of the Ministry of Finance, we've seen the interaction of both, and we are beginning to see the result. For the first time, in a way that there's a 30% increase in terms of tax revenue. What we have not even considered is the huge impact on this on the economy. Okay, let me quickly give you an example. When it comes to budget, our budget used to be 82% funded by oil proceeds. But now that is no longer the case. We are now approaching a situation of 40 to 60. That is, tax revenue, people's money will actually be funding the budget, not necessarily oil proceeds. And when you get to that situation, people will expect more from government, then they will expect more accountability, and government is duty-bound to do more with the resources. So for me, this is brilliant, and we are increasingly in a better situation. The only problem we have is that the common people are yet to begin to feel the impact. But when it comes to providing the enabling environment to ensure that the economy is able to grow in a way that people can get jobs and prices of goods and commodities come down, within a short time, we'll see the progress being made.
Absolutely. It's just a matter of time and for us to be patient. Is that what you're also preaching?
Absolutely. we need to be, because, it's easier. You can destroy a whole building in a day, but you cannot build it in a day. We've destroyed our economy. Now efforts are being made to rebuild that economy.
Absolutely.